a second. Now we're live.
All right, guys. Hey, welcome to our Facebook Live today. I'm Cole.
I'm Austin.
We are two of the product specialists here at New Horizons RV. And thought we'd share today a little information about our infrastructure, our walls, how we insulate, show you a chassis in production. But right now, Austin and I are standing on a window cutout that has no aluminum in it. This is just our foam, glue-on wallboard, and our exterior fiberglass, glued and pressed together. For many years we've used this technology. It's old school lamination, but it's incredibly rigid when it's glued and pressed together, and very strong. I mean, right now
I eat a lot of food.
we've probably got close to 400 pounds pressing down on this.
I'd say probably over. If we're being honest,
If we're being honest, you know. So we use that type of technology everywhere. We glue and press together our floors. We use a 5/8 plywood for the subfloor. The sidewalls have that 1.5-inch foam, and that's everywhere. We don't interrupt it for wiring. And then we also put that technology to use in our roof. We have 2 layers of foam in our roof. A 2-inch duct layer where the ducting is cut in, and then an 1.5-inch foam above that. Unfortunately, I don't have a roof assembly right now that I'd show you, but I'm also standing on our welding table where we lay out all of our aluminum to put together our sidewalls, our floor structure, our slide room structure, and our roof structure. So everything is welded aluminum. And Austin, do you want to find maybe a scrap? Okay, this will answer one of our questions. Yeah, get one of the mains. So a lot of people wonder about aluminum. Coming down! Ah, made it. You know, with aluminum, the sidewall thickness is pretty substantial. We don't use thin wall aluminum because if you weld it together, it can get brittle and then break that weld. Some of our competition uses thinner walls, and then they put brackets in the corner and actually screw them together. And that brings together a question about, you know, do we fill these with wood? We don't, because we don't need to. A lot of companies will fill this with wood, so when the screw goes into it, the screw has threads for that to bite into the wood, where our aluminum's thick enough that that screw will bite into this aluminum. And a few years ago, you know, I'll say this nicely, I'm just an RV salesman. I did go to school and pay a little bit of attention, but had a mechanical engineer, and we were talking about this very thing. And you know, at the time, I thought, well, if somebody wanted to, we could, it just cost a little extra, fill this with foam. And he pointed out to me, hey, that's cool, but it's not going to do anything. You still have a heat transfer. As that heat's hitting this sidewall, it's still going to transfer through the exterior of the aluminum. You know, that transfer is not going to go from here to here to here. It's actually going to travel through the aluminum and, you know, emanate itself out the other side. So, you know, way smarter people than I am buy RVs from me, so they teach me things. So, Austin, you got anything that you've had questions about recently in sidewalls that you can think of?
No, but I did. I was actually watching a video today when we were talking about sidewall aluminum, where some other production-wise had, like they were talking about, they had bolted a floor to a piece of aluminum, but it was so thin that it actually had bowed the aluminum down into it. So where they had grabbed and yanked from on the carriage bolt, and just pulled the aluminum straight down with it. So they had wood on the inside, so it pulled some of down to the wood, but physically they were bending the aluminum.
Right.
So if they just had a little bit stronger, thicker gauge aluminum, then they could get better traction.
But you know, that comes down to cost and weight. You know, could we save some bucks on thinner aluminum? Sure, but then that's going to open up a lot of other issues that we'd have to figure out some other way to overcome. So we just use the thicker wall. And then as far as weight goes, we know where it has to go. Whoops. You know, for many years, I've always kind of said this tongue in cheek, but I'd rather apologize for you needing more truck than us building the rig that, you know, that falls apart because it's too lightweight. So that's little things like that. In our sidewall, we need to.
I wonder how light that is.
Well,
It's only, not even a couple pounds. Right?
no, I mean it's fairly heavy. I mean, pick that up with one hand. I mean, that's probably 8, 10, 12 pounds, and all it is an 18 by 36 inch cutout. If this was glue on, batten insulation, and just exterior fiberglass, it'd be considerably lighter, because that foam, I wouldn't step on it either. So, you know, our sidewall structure, our floor structure, all of those elements do contribute to our coaches being heavier than our competition, but it's technology we feel is going to last for many, many years.
I do have some customers that ask me if we, there's a lot of companies that they will structure their windows out with aluminum and then they'll put wood so that they say, you know, you don't get the transfer. And so they'll ask me, well, do you guys put wood around yours? And, you know, the answer is no, just because we don't have aluminum on the sides of our windows either. So just like this is cut out from this side, if you had the other side or where it came out cut, it would be the exact same thing. So you don't have aluminum to also transfer that condensation in that empty space.
We use a pressure, it's like a pressure ring system around our windows that holds it in place. So.
And you've got plenty of structure for that pressure ring to hit on, just like you saw.
You can see 400 pounds standing on it.
Yeah.
Somewhere in our archives, we've got a picture of me back when I had hair, so it's really old, driving a F450 up 2 of these window cutouts, and we should recreate that.
We should with the new truck.
With the new truck. So, just a little bit about our wall structure. While we're in this area, Courtney, if you follow us back, we'll talk a little bit about our frame. So, as you can see, we build our frames here in Kansas at our shop. All this beautiful American steel, nothing from anywhere else but the good old US of A.
Drew said a long time ago about your hair.
That's great. But yeah, all of our steel, you know, we bring it in and then it sits here until we start turning it into your home on wheels. So they start out upside down on this jig. Combination of I-beam, box tube, certain height spacer, because these trucks keep getting taller and we need to account for it so we can ride level. And this will have 3 axles. I think tomorrow morning we'll get the 3rd one on. But that's the MORRIDE setup, and a little bit later we'll share with you further down the line. I think one of the questions that we had posed was suspension systems, MORRIDE versus Dexter, Summit versus Majestic.
Yeah.
So a little further down the line, let's point that out on the show model.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it starts out good old steel, and this is kind of cool. I want to maybe see if you can zoom in here. The gauge of steel can run all the way up to, I believe that is, what thickness is that?
Oh man,
3/8?
I don't know. You're gonna throw it on me
It's
too early.
huge, but
Down to
3/16 to 1/4 to 3/8, and it all depends on the length of the trailer and you know how big things need to be. So it, needless to say, the bigger they get, the heavier they get. But part of that extra weight is thicker gauge steel to carry that weight when you're going down the road. So.
Yeah, just because it's a 12-inch I-beam doesn't mean it's the same thickness of a 12-inch I-beam as someone else.
Right.
Or even box tube. A lot of people do box tube on stuff, but just as the aluminum goes, using a thin box tube is a lot different than using a thick wall box tube or something on I-beam as well.
Yep. So you got Courtney and Austin. Let's go around the front so we don't have to do limbo under there and get our pretty clothes ready.
May want to speak up just a little bit because I think they're mowing the grass outside.
Oh yeah, there's the crane to lift that suspension system into place. So those are MORRIDE IS axle suspension assemblies. They're, as you can see, they're not really axles. Excuse me.
A bunk system.
Yeah, basically, as I've always called it, it's kind of a spindle system where your assembly is rotating here, and it's got all this steel that connects everything together. It's hard to see from that side, but we got the IS uses these rubber torsion blocks, not leaf springs, or that's what gives it the travel in it. So these are bolted together, and there's a shock absorber. Now there's some maintenance over time. There's a grease zerk under here. This is what lubricates the spindle assembly to be able to rotate like that. And then over time, and this would be a, I don't know, Austin, if you know the info off the top of your head. This might be a refer to MORIDE thing, but I know they have a set amount of time or miles of travel, and you want to replace the torsion blocks.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is either, but I do know it's something that way down the road when you start to
8 to 10 years and maybe around 100,000 miles. And don't quote me. I'm trying to remember what I've learned from MORIDE, but it'd be a simple call to them and say, what is your written, you know.
Yeah, it might even be something they post on their website.
It could be, but it's a great suspension, independent. We use that standard on the Majestic. Again, here in a little bit, we'll show you our Summit suspension, which is a Dexter leaf spring and shock absorber suspension system, and that is not actually much cheaper, but it is considerably lighter. So somebody who's trying to build a lighter trailer with us to tow with like a 1-ton single, that would be an area that would probably...
This might be something that would push you over the edge, whereas the leaf spring simply
Right.
might be the couple 100 pounds you're looking for.
Yeah, well, I think it's closer to anywhere from 700 to 1,000.
Okay.
Like
On a tandem set.
on a tandem set, yes. Yeah. So it's pretty significant. So there's a frame out here. I don't know if the lighting, Courtney, will be okay if we step outside.
Yeah,
Let's see.
should be fine.
Now this frame just it'll get pulled onto the line probably before Chris goes home.
I imagine, yeah, today.
But yeah, 48 footer, triple axle setup. Got the Bigfoot landing legs here. You can see these. These are this is actually a 6-point system, which is kind of rare for us. 4 is standard. 6 is available for these really big rigs to help them be a little more stable, but it's not needed. We've used 4 for years. And Austin, do you remember the lift capacity?
I don't, but
Okay.
it's insane.
I'll do a little teaching because I've been doing this for 13 years. 17,000 pounds.
Per leg.
17,000 pounds per leg. So, plenty of capacity. But yeah, you can see this about to come in on the line and start getting to look like an RV instead of just a chassis. So, Austin, do you want to lead down to the Summit and talk about that some?
Yeah, I think
Let you
this
take
door.
over for a little bit.
I think this door is open over here. Hopefully we can go in.
Beautiful Kansas day. It is not windy, and I'm not golfing. I don't know what's going on. Got to pay the bills, huh? Hard. Oh.
And I don't like key on me. We'll go back to the weld shop.
Can you guys tell them a little bit about our paint colors along the way?
Sure.
So
You're just working on paint.
Yeah, so we have a set amount of paint schemes that we have. We have different, I'm going to call it a design. So the swoops and angles that you'll see from our Summit to our Majestic is different. But we do offer paint schemes. I think we have 8.
We've got 6 different color combinations.
In all 3 different truck brands that you'd be towing with.
Yep.
So
Ram.
Ram, GM, and then Ford.
Yep.
And in each one of our paint schemes, like say Silver Mist or Black Ice, you can get Silver Mist in GM, you can get it in Ram, or you can get it in Ford color. So if you're pulling with a Ford, you'd probably want to get Silver Mist in the Ford color.
We've tried to choose the most current popular colors amongst those trucks. Now, I'm working with a couple right now that they've got on order a Volvo in Smoky Mountain Gray, which is a really beautiful gray tone with kind of a bluish hue in the undertones. And we do have a custom color charge. CDI, our paint shop, will take the code, spray it out, send it out for approval, so we can match colors. So like this couple I'm working with, one of their colors in the scheme will be that same color as their truck, so we can pull those together and really make it match for them. Full-blown custom schemes are ridiculously expensive, so I think in the 8 years we've done it, I've had one customer do it, and that's about it. So we try to rotate every 2 or 3 years, only building 30 or so a year. It's not like there's hundreds of them that have the same scheme. So we try to use those schemes for a couple years and then freshen it up. So
And a lot of people will take certain paint schemes and just change one color or 2 colors. So I get a lot of people with maybe like Black Ice, but they want to do a different blue, or maybe not even a blue, do like a green or something.
Yeah.
So a lot of people will take the base scheme and just change 1 or 2 things about it, and that kind of just, it's cost efficient, and then it still makes you feel like you're getting something different than nobody else is doing.
Unique to you. That's, I think, one of the things. And Austin, I know you've been in the sales department for about half a year now, not even 5 months, barely. So, what would you say one of the draws that people have come to us wanting the custom has been?
Floor plans.
Floor plans?
Floor plans. There's a lot of I get a lot of calls on people who are looking for. It's not your average people. When I say average, like an older couple that's just maybe 2 people that are looking to travel.
You gotta be careful. What's older? I'm getting older. I'm 36.
Older than me. But you do get the people who have maybe kids or certain needs that aren't normal. And there's not really rigs out there. Maybe somebody with with kids is looking for a large floor plan that is built, and there's no one out there building
Like
a
most
specific.
bunkhouse units are not necessarily made to be a home.
Correct.
They're made for weekending.
Yep. And they might not be laid out, in certain areas. A lot of bunkhouses are laid out for space efficiency, but not with space in mind.
Right.
So getting as many kids in as small of a space as possible, but that's not something that you want to live in 24/7. So.
Right. And I think one of our questions was, are we built to be lived in?
Yes.
So I'm going to use the word niche. I've heard it both ways on HGTV. Somebody smarter than me, correct me. Our niche, I've always kind of said is the full-time RVer. Traditionally, 2/3 of our owners use our rigs as their full-time residence. We should look at the last 2 years, but I'd bet a pretty penny that it's still in line with about 2/3 of our owners.
I agree. Some of them are people who are either getting into it in the future, so currently they're not full-timers, but they use it for kind of a snowbird kind of thing. If they've got a house in a nice area, maybe they travel during half the year when it's not nice.
Yeah.
But
So our warranty is for full-time. There's no exclusions if you use this too many nights in the year that you're going to be void of warranty. Like, that is what we are designing and building these to do, is to be your home. And I think it wasn't on this batch of questions, but I think one of them, one time somebody was like, are these built to go down the road? If we wanted these to just stay in one area, we wouldn't spend the thousands upon thousands of dollars that Moride suspension costs, and H-rated Goodyear tires, and big 17.5-inch aluminum wheels. Like, we'd put the bare minimum on that for it to go from here to a lot and never move, but that's not what we do. Like, these are made to move and go down the road.
we do have a lot of customers that travel all the way north and south pretty often.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Now,
And there's a couple of a lot of pictures on there.
I will say, just like a car, the more miles you put on it, expect to have maintenance more often. Checking, brake pads, checking, visually inspecting those rubber torsion blocks. Checking through those items, because the more wear and tear you put on something, I don't want to sound mean about it, but I would think that'd be common sense. The more you move something around, it's going to need to be paid attention to. But try to say that nicely.
This one got
Yeah. I'll
so this one
take over from
this
there.
one has the twin eye leaf spring on it. So this is going to be that standard Summit suspension that we were talking about. This is a tandem 2.8K setup. So if you probably doesn't want to go all the way down, but if you see underneath, it physically has an axle that goes all the way across. Oh, cool, help us out. It goes all the way across, and it's going to use a leaf spring style setup instead of doing that Moride independent suspension. Obviously, it is still an option if you do a Summit all the way down to a 32-footer. If you'd like to add that Moride independent suspension, that is still something that's definitely available for the people who are maybe traveling less. Or not moving as much, and the people who are looking to maybe save some weight, this is a great option. And then also cost efficiency is always up there as well.
Move into that generator mount.
And then on our generators, we mount all our generators behind the axles in the rear. It does a lot of things to help out. Servicing is always easier when it's not in an enclosed compartment. It also helps taking some pin weight off, getting it back here, and then also as far as noise vibration, having that in a compartment up underneath your bed is not the best way to get a good night's sleep. Having it back here, there's a lot of times when you might start it and have trouble even knowing it's running, just because it's so quiet back here and it's out of the area itself. So having it back here is a big improvement from having it in a compartment sealed all the way up front.
So that funny story on that. First customer that we did that for, a fellow named Frank Argo. This I think he had like a 2013 Majestic he built with me. It's been a minute. first, he's got a plant tour with me, which we invite any of you, if you're ever in Kansas and want to see how we build these firsthand, call us, schedule a plant tour. We love showing you around and showing you what we can do. So one of the first things Frank does the morning of our tour, says, you know, introduce each other. Cole, come out here, I got the first thing you need to tackle. I'm like, what's that? We're gonna put a generator behind the axles. I'm like, what? It's not gonna fit, no way. So the night before, he'd already crawled all over the place and measured, and so we get on a creeper, and I'm dressed like this, and we're under here measuring it, and sure enough, it fits. So we got the height, we got the width, we just had to figure out how to weld on a bracket. And then, actually, if you come over here, Courtney, and switch around, this one is installed. We got the exhaust kit that's running to the rear, so it exhausts out the rear. And what size is that, Austin?
That's a 6.5 LP.
6.5 LP, cool.
Yep.
Cool.
So
cool.
here, if you want to hand it to me, I'll give you just kind of a better view, just so
Don't
you
be
can kind of
shaky.
see for serviceability and things like that. It's, you know, wide open under here, so it's extremely easy to get to anything you need to. And being that, you know, also having these jacks on here, you can also get the coach higher off the ground. Right now we're on the tires. If you were to lift it up higher, you'd have even more headspace. So it's nice to be in this open air area and not be shoved in a compartment all the way up front.
So long story short, the guys in the shop, they really didn't like me for a little bit when we started doing it this way. And now that's pretty much all we know is installing it back here. And yeah, the big benefits, like Austin said, pin weight's reduced. The amount of storage up front is not affected at all.
NVHs are a huge point of
Yeah,
that too.
it's pretty cool. It takes us longer to do it this way, which is a big reason I don't think that'll ever turn into a mainstay in the industry amongst the big manufacturers, because it's not as efficient, but we feel it builds a better product. Light bulb, landing legs, majestic.
That's what I was going to say
Summit.
next, yeah.
So
The standard setup on, which he mentioned the rating, because that one outside was a Majestic, is the Quadro Bigfoot system. So each one has its own reservoir, and it's all separately controlled. So they both will auto level from the Lippert system to this. The biggest difference, again, is going to be weight, being that the Lippert system runs off a central jack, or not a central jack, a central pump, whereas these all have their own reservoirs and pumps. So you do get a little more weight. It's a little more cost efficient on the Lippert side as well. So on the Summits, that also helps out. Yeah. Weight and cost are always something big. So this is the Quadro system, and then if you look over here, you'll see the Lippert system.
So with this system, like Austin said, it runs off of a central pump and reservoir. This is still a 4-point system, and it can lift our coach up off the ground to change tires. We don't worry about that tweaking the frame at all. That's how we actually change tires here at the shop, is with these systems. Now, the level up system is a really, really good system. It's got a 14,000 pound lift capacity. The Bigfoot is a little bigger, a little heavier. Well, that's kind of redundant. Same thing, lifts more weight, it does cost more. So our goal here is to give you a very good experience of just hit a button and it levels. And then we can go to something a little burlier if you choose to, but there's really no reason to. This also keeps our weight down. So on the Summit, with a central pump and reservoir, and then 4 legs, versus going to the Bigfoot, we've calculated it adds about 250 pounds to the trailer to go to the Bigfoot system. So if weight's a concern, then sticking with this LCI system, there's nothing wrong with doing that. It's a good system.
If you're hunting for pounds, some of the standards can help keep you down.
Yeah, yeah. And I think our next video series, next live, hopefully this rig's a little bit further along and we can really dive into differences of Summit, Majestic. I mean, honestly, at the surface level, when we're talking quality, there is no difference. Yeah. It's the same walls, it's the same insulation. The frame is like 95% the same. There's a few different components here and there, like leveling and the spacer size, suspension, etc. But, you know, same beam, same thickness, all that stuff is the same. So, I mean, it is a superior frame to pretty much anything else out there that you can buy. Big difference. Fully custom from 32 to 47 foot. And then the Summit, we've got pre-engineered floor plans that are ranging in length from 32, a couple 35s, 37's been our top seller. We're developing a new 39-foot rear kitchen, which we've got on the website. We're going to keep working on that. And then up our sleeve right now, we're working on a couple 42-foot units. Now they're not on the website yet, so stay tuned, but 42-foot with a half bath, and we think it'll kind of fill a niche. Yeah, and
Yes.
we got a couple toy haulers.
Speaking about the Summit, I get a lot of questions or if you have white cabinetry on the Summit models.
Right now, we're not offering that in the Summit with the price point, because we do have a reduced price point with the Summit. And our wood cabinetry, it's all built the same. However, in a Summit, they really need to come down our line in a certain amount of time to make that price point stay. Otherwise, it'll start creeping up into the. If it takes the same amount of time as a Majestic to build, then we need to.
William,
Painted cabinets are, I'm going to say, time consuming. Which, let's go show them the cabin shop.
Bill Heinrich is
There you go.
requesting to join our video, so
Cool.
I'll have to let him know next time that he can.
How do you group
There.
on the video?
He just comes in on the video.
Cool.
Oh. Digitally or in person?
Yeah, I was like, can we like do a Star Wars hologram and get
Yeah.
it in here with this? And
I wish I was that
tech
technique.
savvy.
Yeah.
So our cabinet shop, the area we're in right now, I've always called just our staging area. So there's just a lot of random stuff. Behind you, Courtney's the spray booth. Over here, we've got an assortment of trim. And every piece of wood that looks like wood in our rig is real wood, including like things like this fluted column.
No plastics.
It's
or...
all real wood. And this is our rustic cherry, so it's got some really cool, gnarly knots. Is that right? Burly, gnarly?
Gnarly.
I like gnarly. So that's all real wood. Our corbels, those fancy carved things, which, by the way, just because that's standard on Majestic, that doesn't mean you have to have it.
Correct.
If you would like a more contemporary styling, do we have any Summit trim back here? No, it's all down there.
It's all
But
down
if you
there.
wanted a more contemporary styling, I'm going to just use the word clean lines.
Yeah.
You know,
Mission,
maybe
more mission,
the mission style, flat panel. We can do that in any Majestic.
I've got a couple customers
Yeah.
that are doing that.
Yeah, so that's been kind of
Yeah,
popular.
same thing goes for the painted stuff too. It's still real wood. You know when you paint it, you do lose the visual of some of the grain, being that it's paint, it's not a stain, but it is still solid wood.
Maple. I think we've been using maple, paint grade maple for the paint, a little tighter grain. So that one's dusty. So, yeah, and here at New Horizons, we only build around 30. We fell a little short of that with COVID last year, but our target, it's really, it's not too far off. It's 36 rigs a year, 3 a month, and I've always thought this is unique, special, neat. I don't know the adjective, but if you look in here, some of our customers we're building homes for right now, Haynes, Winkler, Jernigan, got the show model. So, could we put the customer number on here, which is the last 4 digits of the VIN? We could, and that'd probably be just as efficient, but we've always felt it's important that our whole team at New Horizons, the guys building the cabinets, the guys installing the lights, it's real important that we always keep in mind that, this is somebody's home. And a lot of times, this is somebody's dream. They've been researching, saving money, and then they go into it and they want to build something special. I've always thought it's real important to keep that at the forefront of the guys that actually make it come true, and kind of keep that connection.
When you show up, everybody knows your name, and that's why.
Yeah.
So if you're always wondering why everybody knows who you are, that's why.
For sure, for sure.
Glenn had commented and said that he was late, so he asked about you guys talking about the insulation all around the tip outs, walls, floors, and ceilings compared to the main body. But we did speak some about that. We just haven't spent a lot of it.
Unfortunately, we didn't have any wall assemblies, but I do know just a quick overview. Slide room floors, slide room sidewalls, the roof. Everything in the slide room has that blue high density foam built into it, just like our main structure. The flooring has the 1.5 inch foam, and then 5/8 plywood, and then luxury vinyl tile, or plank tile, or wood. The roof has 3.5 inches. It's a 2-inch layer and then an 1.5 inch layer. And the bottom layer normally has all of our ducting cut through it, and then we've got a 1/4 inch plywood and then our PVC material.
Correct.
So
you've got plenty of structure and
a lot of foam, a lot of foam. And early in the video, I know Glenn, you probably missed this. You have to hit start and watch again. But we had our
400
pounds sitting on a window cutout, and basically, I mean, you can just see how strong that is. There's no structure in that cutout. So we use that type of philosophy everywhere, which means we have a lot less aluminum in the sidewalls, which there in turn means less heat transfer, because aluminum, no matter what you do to it, fill it with foam, wrap it, it doesn't matter, it's still a heat sink. It's gonna take heat from one side to the other.
Mr. Tiedemann said, what did you change on the frame to level the coach on the newer and taller super pickups?
Yes, so let's see here. The Majestic, we are now running a 12-inch beam, 4-inch box tube, and then a 3-inch box tube. Where just 18 months ago, it was a 6-inch box tube the whole way back. So we actually added an inch to it to get that up a little higher so we could ride level. And then that Summit with the leaf spring suspension, I think the hanger's real different. That's an 8-inch box tube.
Yeah, it's a little
So
different.
it's 20 inches of frame under there.
Yeah.
That's a lot of steel. So yeah, Jim, your new rig, that'll have that combination of 4 and 3 that hopefully we'll be starting on soon. I know you guys are anxious too.
Trey Wettering said, love it. Thanks for taking the time to do this. And she is actually coming to meet with Austin in a few weeks, so that's
Oh,
exciting.
Cool. Woo! Hey, you made it tough for me to get through here, buddy.
Well, I was going to show you some cabinetry.
Sweet. So Courtney, come around here.
A vanity, a full done vanity.
Where's this one at, Austin?
This is the bedroom vanity. So if you've got a Majestic with a flip down TV, then right here is where that TV cavity is going to go. You have a nice window where my beautiful face is. And then down below you're going to have a hamper and some drawers.
Come to the other side, Courtney.
And then get to see the backside
Yeah.
of everything. So you can see all the solid wood panels, all of our structure from the backside. Pocket screwed. Everything you can see is pocket screwed from the side as well. So
Glued and pocket screwed. Now, Austin, you were telling me about this earlier. So many videos that you're seeing with some of our competition, they say residential or like a home.
yeah.
Now, most cabinetry in a home, if you put it in a box on wheels and put it down the road, it's going to shake to pieces. So honestly, this cabinetry has to be better built than most homes because it's going to last you a long time. So the base frames, Austin mentioned it, glued and pocket screwed, we've done that forever. Summit, Majestic, they're built the same. The interior panel, you know, this is all real wood too. A lot of people use that wallboard, which is fine, but this is real wood. It's not particle board.
Actual cherry versus, having just anything else.
Pretty.
Raw wood before it's getting either stained or
Yeah.
painted.
Here's an island sitting here. And then this is where, I feel like we're on MTV Cribs. This is where the magic happens. Our cabinet shop. So, yeah, this is my fridge. So, cabinetry. We build all the face frames and base cabinets here in shop. We've got a business partner or strategic alliance, or I don't know the right word, but a company called RV Furniture builds our doors and our drawer fronts and our drawer boxes. But we get to do them. So, you talk about that. I'm gonna go get one.
Drawer boxes?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see, we're doing the maple drawer boxes. They're the tongue and groove stuff. He's gonna go grab one real quick so you can kind of see it. So you get a nice solid box that's nice and smooth. And another thing we like to do on some of our cabinetry, which I can't show you, but I noticed in a lot of the used units and trade-ins we get, when you go to pull a drawer out of a cabinet, you tend to pull it and then the drawer ends here, but there's dead space in between the drawer and the cabinet. So we attempt to make the drawer box as deep as it can go into the cabinet. Therefore, when you go to open it, you're getting all that usable space.
And there's some areas where it can get too deep, because the further you get that guide out, it can get really, really shaky. We try to avoid that. But even this sounds really commonsensical, but this is wood too. A lot of companies, including the camper I may own, it's just wallboard, that really thin wallboard that goes into the base of the drawer. So
once you get some silverware in
but
there, and some
you know,
heavy stuff.
in all honesty, for folks that just do weekend RVing, that's very adequate. But when you're going to use this as your home and you load this up with canned goods and silverware and all that stuff gets heavy. So being a good, strong drawer box is incredibly important. I learned something literally yesterday. I'm not trying to correct you because I've been saying this too for 2 years. About 18 months ago, 2 years ago, something like that, we actually changed to birch. And Chris Baker, who is our lead cabinet builder, was explaining to me birch is a lot less prone to like warping than maple could. I don't know wood like Chris does. So he corrected me and then explained why that we switched to birch. So now you learned something new too. And we'll tell Drew. So, but yeah, it's extremely well built. Full extension drawer guide, soft close. Blanco sinks are our standard. Undermount stainless steel. We can also get composite. We can do single basin. We can do farm sinks. I mean, it can get kind of pricey with some of these sinks. A, the sinks can get expensive, and B, it's not that simple to just change a sink. We got to redraw the templates. We got to coordinate with our countertop fabricators. We got to build cabinetry different. So, you know, when we charge you for a different custom sink, always keep in mind it's not just the difference of the sink from standard to the sink we're choosing. There's also engineering aspects that we have to account for. So, any other cool toys back here?
No, just.
Do we have a unit we can show them that maybe is being built currently, or one that's open enough to get into?
Let's take a peek in Jernigan's rig. Our last Facebook Live, we were sitting in the show model for a while. Is that in shape to show?
Yeah, they're doing those cuts in there.
That'd be kind of cool to see it. Take the final touches put on it. Okay, one of our ever popular rear kitchen designs. We were actually able to shrink this down into 38 feet. For that show model, we've been
Still a really good amount of kitchen
Yeah.
space too. Enough that I can barely touch both sides.
So this is our cherry cabinetry with what we call walnut stain. There's a very traditional rich brown tone to it. You can choose.
Let's turn everything off. I already did.
Okay, you're on it. Good work. So behind this beautiful piece of cardboard is an even more beautiful 65-inch Samsung TV. So obviously we want to keep that protected and not put any scratches in it until you pick up your rig. So we try to protect things as best as we can. So yeah, this is kind of at the final stages, I think.
Final finish.
Yeah, another week or two and quality control, you know, walking through, testing everything. So yeah, the flooring in this unit's are hickory. It's called Radiance, and this is a Shaw product. It's pretty much top class on what you can put on a floor in here.
I think we've answered all the questions for today.
Cool.
Glenn May had another question. He said, are the exterior doors wide enough to fit furniture through? If not, can they be made wider?
Some furniture, yes. A lot of our furniture is truly residential, where the backs don't come off. So we actually have to take those through a door, or I mean, excuse me, through a window. Washer dryer, that goes through the door. The fridge can, but not all the time. Honestly, the doors are 78 tall, 30 wide. If you go too big on a door, you're going to start reducing, you know, interior space on the RV. So I think the biggest we've ever done was a
36.
handicap accessible that had like a wheelchair lift, and that was 36 or 8
Yeah.
for the health unit.
Yeah.
But that takes up a lot of valuable real estate. And in all honesty, with a good technician that knows what they're doing, it takes about an hour to uninstall and reinstall a window.
Yeah, you can see it in a couple different stages here, from a completely finished setup to a setup where there is no valance on it yet, to right here where there's actually no casing or valance. So making this this in its reverse step, somebody could definitely do that and then get it through. So.
But it does take a crew. You need more than one friend to put a couch in through that window.
If you got a heavy couch, you might need some more friends.
Right.
You might lose some friends in the process.
Lots of beer for them, beer and pizza. I think on our next one, let's dive into our summit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're putting some time and effort into some new floor plans. You know, the summit series is one that I think gets looked over a lot of times because it's not our flagship. But we're super proud of what we're able to put together, and it's still a lot of money. Like, I'm not gonna try to shoot sunshine somewhere and say it's cheap, because it's not. You know, they start in the mid 100s and go up from there. But it's considerably less than a Majestic. On average, if you were to do a 39-foot 3-slide unit, it's close to 35 grand in base price less. So, you know, there's considerable savings there, and it's still going to get you a full timing 4 seasons unit that I call it semi-custom. You guys still pick your colors, you pick your options and everything about that. We can change some cabinetry, but when you start picking or saying, oh, I want a foot bigger here and shrink this down, like when we're getting into engineering changes, the structure, that's when we start, well, that's what we do in the Majestic, because that's built into the price of re-engineering the whole thing. So I think we should talk a little more about our Summit series next time and continue to answer just general questions. And we're working on some new floor plans that hopefully we'll have up on the website soon. Some old floor plans that frankly we never built in the last 3 years. They're going to get axed because nobody wanted them, so we'll replace them with something that hopefully you do want. So, Austin, you got anything that you want to?
I'm excited to see, on the Summit line doing a lot of the Majestics lately have been this rear kitchen style layout, because it really gives you a great space difference. You know, you feel like you're in a kitchen, but you're not standing in the living room, but you can still see what's going on. So it gives you a good separation. It feels very open with these large slides as well. So I'm excited to see that in a Summit, to show that, a lot of people might have built a Majestic rear kitchen for the fact that they saw a Majestic rear kitchen, and a Summit rear kitchen, being that nobody has seen one yet, that might be somebody's cup of tea. And I think I've got a couple people who I'd really like to see get into something like that. And I think it'll be extremely interesting to see. So.
Thank you guys for coming with us today, looking through the shop. As always, if you guys have questions, want to talk to any of us personally or Drew, call us 800-235-3140. Ask for Austin, Cole, or Drew. If we're not available, Courtney always works hard to try to answer questions.
I do my best.
And we'd love to hear from you. And if you're in Kansas, look us up. We'll show you through the shop. So.
Have a good day, guys.